In 5 words or less.
I'm out.
In 5 words or less. What would you say to someone to push them over the edge to come? I stumped Mark D. Williams, people. Usually it's Mark sitting here, but I think Mark has a lot to say, so I've stepped in. We're at the Contractor Coalition Summit in Omaha. This is the last interview, the last day, almost the last hour. This is it. Mark, you've been to the most summits outside of anybody, probably?
So the host, the fifth one, yep.
And you've transitioned into a host yourself, so congrats.
Thank you.
I have a question. I have some interesting questions for you. Since you've been to so many of these, what did this event unlock for you that you didn't even know you needed?
Omaha specifically?
No, across the summit.
All of them. Oh, wow. That's a long one. You know, Morgan always says it, now I always say it, your vibe attracts your tribe. And so I think a lot of us are, you know, it's hard to remember the thought process and the mindset I had before 3 years ago coming to my first one in Nashville. And I was always a very extroverted person, you know, very talkative, very active in my community. But I'm a Minnesota builder. Like, why would I talk to builders in Arizona or California or anywhere else? Because I don't build there. Like, what's the point of networking? For someone who would consider themselves very open-minded and very optimistic, like, I had a very narrow point of view. And so that first one, seeing builders from all over, it's like, these are my people. And you know, I think I've always been somebody that asks for help a lot because I don't know much. So I've always been very willing to ask for help. So even in my local market, there's been a number of builders that I would call to, but I'm not the norm in my market. Or that behavior wasn't considered normal at that time. I was just kind of considered the oddity. And then you realize that there's this huge big world of solar entrepreneurs. And I think Nick said it best. He talked about like grain bins in a farm field. And you think you're the only, you know, silo of wheat. But then those walls come down and you're right next to another one. Their walls come down, they're right next to another one. It's just there's so many business owners that deal with the same issues, the same how do you balance life and, you know, children and family values and growing your business and clients and all of these things. Everything is discussed. And while the format is really largely about business operations and marketing and branding, and I've learned so much from everybody here, you know, all the conversations that happen in between are fuel for your emotional tank. You've got your business tank that you're filling up in the class. You've got your emotional tank that you're filling up in between the classes as you connect with other builders. And so for me, it's really just sort of been, you know, it's been just kind of the match to the explosion. And so for me, it's like I had all this TNT locked up inside, and this has really just sort of allowed me to be what really I was always meant to be, which is just someone that I love people. And this has given me a way to connect, you know, whether it was starting the podcast or being involved. And I told Morgan early on, I said, you know, if there's ever an opportunity to be part of, you know, the teaching side of it and the educational side of it. And I still believe I don't have much to teach, but I'm happy to share. And I think it's different. I think by sharing your experiences, that is teaching. But I don't feel that personally I've got it all figured out. Not even close. Granted, I don't think Nick or Tyler, Brad, and Morgan do either, but I feel like in terms of that business knowledge, it's mainly, I'm just happy to share everything. I don't really have much of a filter. And what I love about the host that we have now is everyone is so unique. Every personality is so different. So I think it's like a rainbow. Everyone's color sort of makes the overall thing just that much more, you know, interesting and helpful. And I think as people come in and interact with all of us, each person sort of connects to somebody in a different way. And, you know, we haven't discussed this as a team, but like, I really love the wellness space and the health space. And a lot of builders, you know, now in the mornings, you know, we do a morning run or we'll do a morning yoga session, or a lot of the builders are in the weight rooms. And so it's kind of given birth to the Curious Builder Boot Camp and some of these wellness things. And I would love to see some of that, you know, show up in kind of a sharing teaching format, even within the Contractor Coalition Summit, because our natural health is really important to obviously our lives and our businesses. And I'm really passionate about that. So I'm really excited about the future, as well as not only as we go to other cities, but as this community grows. more and more people are alumni. And as I've interviewed, I think 36 builders, even at this Omaha this Omaha coalition, the common thread is really twofold. One is what you said, which is everyone's confidence, from the day that they start to the day that they leave, it's exponentially higher.
Someone who's maybe on the fence about coming and investing, it's not a small amount of money to come. Let's kind of flip it. Where do you think you would be 3 years ago? You don't go to Nashville, you don't come at all. Where do you think your business would be?
Wow.
And all the endeavors that have come from you coming to Nashville and being where you are now?
For me specifically, this was sort of the key that unlocked Pandora's box. And without that key to unlock it, I wouldn't have had the vision or the idea or the confidence to take all these next steps. And one step, it's like, what's the next best decision leads to the next good decision. It's like, they've been stepping stones, and because you have a community that supports each other, usually whatever decision you make is a good one because of the community behind it. And yes, you have to do the work and you've got to go home and apply these things to your businesses. But I mean, the idea, I didn't even know what a podcast was. I went on Brad's podcast and 3 weeks later I started one. I loved the Contractor Coalition Summits so much that, and at the time I didn't know if there was going to be a place for me on it, but I used to coach high school cross country running, and I loved coaching, at that point, kids. But honestly, I just love being a part of encouraging people. I'm sort of like a very loud cheerleader for people's life goals, whatever they are. I want to encourage you to get there. And as I kept asking, Morgan and Brad and saying like, hey, if there's ever a place, I'm here, but there wasn't a place at that time. So it gave birth to the Curious Builder collectives. And so I couldn't stop the enthusiasm. It's like, again, once that box is open, it had to go. But I mean, had I not come, not only my business would be less profitable, I'm significantly more profitable today than I was 3 years ago. Almost double digits, because of just a few changes in terms of how we structured our business. I also would say that brand, I have become an absolute, brand enthusiast, and Morgan really opened up my eyes to, what is the point of brand partnerships? I'm really fascinated by storytelling and how your brand can sort of tell your unique story even if you're not there. And Nick does an amazing job. I'm such a fan of each one of the hosts, and we're all a fan of each other, and there's so much learning going on. I love it when, even right now, I asked Nick this question, he's up there and Brad is saying something and Nick's like, dang, that's I got to do that. And he literally voice texts himself. He's like, work on this next week. And so as it continues to evolve, because life is very dynamic, it's not static. And so we're constantly learning. But honestly, I can't even remember what it was like to be a builder, even as of 3 years ago. And certainly I'm proud of the work I did. I had a lot of foundational things that were awesome, but I mean, I feel like I've taken a quantum leap beyond where I was, just by applying and really just releasing what I was always kind of meant to do.
No, I mean, you look around from the alumni classes, for lack of a better term, and you just see stars just rising. I think, Mark, eventually, you're ascending no matter what, but I think to your point, it was just was like a rocket on your back to help you get there faster. And I think this is an important question, because there's a lot of places you can go to learn and get professional development and whatnot. How do you feel the summit compares to other trainings, masterminds, networking events, that type of thing? Where would you put the summit in the spectrum of those types of things?
I mean, it's the top of the food chain. It's the apex predator, because for so many reasons. But I think the number one is of how highly interactive it is. I remember calling, I didn't know who Brad was, I didn't know who Nick was, I didn't know who Morgan was. My wife said, hey, I think you would really enjoy this thing called the Contractor Coalition Summit, you should go check it out. I called Morgan and I said, this is a big investment, and I'm happy to invest in myself, but I've got to know what I'm getting into. And if this is me sitting in front of a room with 200 people and listening for 3 days, I'm gonna fall asleep, I'm not gonna get anything, and I'm definitely not coming. And she said, you will make your investment back in the first hour. I found out later she asked Brad what to say. And he said, say that. And she was right. The first hour, there was a simple contract of language. And I mean, it's 10x'd my business. As I've already said, I've added double-digit, percentage growth in terms of what we make now every year because of what I've learned here. And most people are good at building, but they need to upgrade how they run their business. And I was like, wow, I knew I was good at certain things, but I needed this in such a dramatic way, because as builders, we take so much risk. And for the amount of risk we take, we do not charge enough, and we need to really take back that ownership of like, no, and that's what goes to confidence of like charging for what you're worth. Your skill, most builders have already accumulated the skill. It's now, having the confidence in themselves and understanding like there is clientele and identifying their ideal client, that's a part of it, but that people need to pay the builders of America what they need to be paid because they're doing a phenomenal service and they're doing phenomenal work. I think what the original part of the question was, what was the investment?
Where does it sit in the spectrum of?
I think the other key metric here is that it's so interactive. It's funny because now there's a number of alumni that have sort of, and I'm fine with being the kind of the pin cushion of the joke because it is who I am. It's why I named it the Curious Builder podcast, is I sat in the front row and I raised my hand a comical amount of times. So much so that, I should have had a foam finger that said number 1 because I was just like question. And they would always say, that slide's coming up. But I was like, everything they would say would yield like 57 questions. And now I'm referred to all the time of like, oh yeah, this guy asks questions. In fact, David and Angela Penzak, who are now, I think, 4 times alumni as well, they were in that initial class. And she told me later that they were sitting in the back and like, who's the noob in the front row who's never built a house before? And then they looked me up and like, oh, he's been building for 19 years. Man, he's got a lot of questions. And so I love how this works for my personality to ask questions. And over again, people that come are like, I love how interactive it is, because people come here because they want to grow. And this growth mindset, we've talked about this before off camera. I've never seen, it's amazing at 300 plus, there's not a single person that rubs me the wrong way, that has a weird attitude. Everyone is here with growth mindset. They want to improve their business. They want to learn. They want to help each other. It's contagious. And if anything, it's like, I have to figure out ways to keep coming, because I don't know, there's nothing else like this that can sort of fill that not only business bucket, that's just one of the spokes of the wheel, because you've got the emotional surge in confidence, you have the camaraderie, and now you're friends with the people that are here. So it's your extended network, it's your extended family, and you support each other. So there's just nothing like it. And the other thing that I think that's secret too is the fact that all the the meals are together. It's kind of family style. So many people comment about the conversations that are happening outside of the classroom, that each one of those things would be worth its weight in gold, but combine them all together, and it's just a treasure.
This is going to be a hard question for you. That's why I'm choosing it. In 5 words or less.
I'm out.
In 5 words or less. What would you say to someone to push them over the edge to come? I stumped Mark D. Williams, people.
I mean, if I can't like talk it out and figure out where I'm going, it's hard to come up with just like a gold nugget, like transformational. I mean, no one word can really summarize all of the things. I'm gonna have to do like a take 10 on this one. 5, man, now I'm just trying to think of what it is.
Do you know what you said at Nashville when I told you to describe the summit in 1 word?
What'd I say?
Mind-blowing.
Oh yeah, I went, oh yeah, I do remember that one. I will.
So I'll flip the question you've been asking everybody here.
Yes.
Who do you choose? You got to take 2.
Okay.
2 of the hosts. Who do you take?
I think I gotta throw Morgan overboard.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think she's gone. I think, oddly, this is gonna surprise you. I think I'm throwing Brad off, and I think I'm keeping Tyler, my polar opposite, and I'm keeping Nick, and I'll tell you why.
Okay.
I think Nick can just roll up his sleeves and just deal with crap for long periods of time. He's a glutton for punishment. So I know, like, you know, we can just get those oars and, like, he's good. Plus he's got some upper body biceps that are built for days. So he's loaded. I think Tyler, because he's so freaking funny, and I think you need some humor. If you're going to be on a boat for a year, like, I need some, plus the idea that I sort of annoy him would, like, give me something to do for a year. So I think
Tyler might throw himself overboard.
And then it's just Nick and I. And Nick would be too stubborn. He'd be like, I'm not going over. So then it would just be Nick and I at the end.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, been another great summit. As I said, much deserved. You're part of the leadership team now.
Yep. If you're interested in attending the Contractor Coalition in the future, please head to contractorcoalitionsummit.com or follow us on Instagram to find out more.